Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for willing to do this.
No problem. You look almost exactly like a friend of mine's son. It's hilarious. I'm like, Turner?
Oh,
Borrow.
so I can start from the very beginning. I read that the first aspiration or sense of acting that you had was when you played a rooftop in kindergarten in Frosty the Snowman.
Oh, wow. You've really done your research. Yes. To be more specific, I was the green rooftop. Thank you very
Hmm.
much.
And that it also said too that you were mad because you noticed that all the lead roles were boys.
Well, yeah, that's how it all began. I am 5 years old and I'm in kindergarten and they're going to be doing Frosty the Snowman. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life, a play. Here I am 5 years old and I'm looking at Ronnie Hume, who was my boyfriend at the time. Of course, I had a boyfriend when I was five. And he got to play Frosty and I had literally nothing. There was no parts for girls whatsoever. So I got to be a green rooftop. And it was the beginning of it, it was the beginning of now I'm really, really a frustrated person already because this is what it's going to be. And always watching that and everything you'd see on TV was all boys, 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 men were in it. And I don't think that I was sitting there as a 5 year old going, look at that, another male, look at that, another male role. But it was certainly something that was embedded in me. And
Yeah.
what's interesting also is in grade 6, I had a teacher who they were, casting the school Christmas play, and he cast me as Santa.
Oh,
And it was really weird. Like I was like, what? And he sort of went through the list. Okay, so and so is going to be this part. So and so is going to be this part, and the person playing Santa. And everybody's like, who's it going to be? It's going to be, Robert Dunlop or, somebody like that. And then he said, Linda Ballantyne. And it was like, what? And everybody was kind of like, she can't do that. She's a girl. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I'll do it. Yeah, 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 I want to do it. So that was kind of my first sort of taste of, I can do anything. I can do anything that a boy can do. Of course I can. Just give me the shot and I will do it. And it was a great show. It was a great play. Let me just tell you, in grade 6, yep, I walked across that stage quite proudly as Santa Claus.
did you maintain acting through high school?
Yeah, definitely. So I went through in grade school. Our schools had a lot of musicals that they did. And our high school was very much an arts oriented high school. Now, I had no idea, again, at the time, because I'm a bit of an idiot that way. I'm pausing one more time because this dog needs in now. Oh! Okay, get in here. Hurry up. He's trying to kill me. The dog is trying to kill me. Slowly but painfully, he's trying to kill me. Anyway, so we had very much an arts-oriented high school, and we had a really amazing drama teacher in high school, Joel Greenberg, and I worshipped him. And when you look up to somebody in life, you'll do anything to please them. At least I would. I was just like, anything. I worked so hard in his classes to make sure that I knew my lines, that I was ready for every part, that I thrilled him every single time. And I'm not saying that he was thrilled every time. I'm sure sometimes he was like, really? That's all you got, Ballantyne? But he was amazing. And he was the one that inspired me for sure to go further with acting. When I got to the end of high school, I remember, well, I got a really good mark in it. And I went over to him and I said, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm actually thinking of going into acting. And he was like, yeah, I don't think you're crazy. I think you should. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, of course you should be. This is what you do. This is what you do and you do it well. And I was like, oh my God, this person that believed in me, like that I worshiped, now believed in me with everything he had. And that opened up a humongous door for me, because until then, I honestly, without a word of a lie, thought that anybody who went into acting went in because their parents did it, because it was something that was in their family. I didn't think really people acted. I didn't think you could ever, certainly I didn't think you could make a living at it.
Right.
But I didn't really look at it as a profession at all. It was just, you know, like you're watching Happy Days and you're seeing Fonzie and you're going, wow, but I wasn't considering the fact that this is an actor who's doing this.
Right.
And so he really opened up my world for sure.
And so I know that you went to Ryerson with Vince Carrazza.
First, I went to York. I went to York for 1 year and hated it. I did not want to be a tree for the rest of my life. That's how I felt at the time, because when you're in first year at university, you're doing every course and you're doing very few acting courses. And the acting ones you're doing is all really, really rudimentary. They put you at the very bottom level and they slowly work your way up. And I was way too impatient for that and ready to go. I just wanted to act. So I quit York and just worked, did, you know, odd jobs here and there, found an agent and started acting and started getting parts in commercials and TV shows and stuff, but didn't really feel like I had a really good direction. I didn't know where I wanted to go with this. And so when I got to be about 26, I went, I need something more than this. So that's when I applied for Ryerson and I auditioned and I got in. And Vince Carrazza was in my class. Loved good old Vinny. Tuxedo Mask, of course. And I loved the whole course, loved it all, loved the entire 3 years I was there, had a great time. And, you know, when I went in there, I already had an agent. So I was kind of one of the lucky ones. It was sort of like that little bit ahead. And when I got out of there, one of the courses that they had at Ryerson was a microphone technique course, because they've got all kinds of different courses, you know, like movement and vocal technique and this and that. But one of them was microphone technique. And as soon as I got in front of that microphone, as soon as I could hear that spit in my ears, you know, like that crackle and everything, I just went, this is what I want to do. I love this. I just got it. It was fun. I could just lose myself in it. I didn't judge myself because I am really, really tough on myself. You know, any on-camera stuff drives me nuts. I'm like, oh God, did I really do that? Oh my God, my eyes are so boggly and ugh. So when I got out of Ryerson, I went to my agent and I said, you know, I kind of wouldn't mind trying to do some voice work. And they said, okay, well, you know, you need a demo for that. And I was like, I got one. And she said, okay, well, we'll give it a listen to. And what we usually do is we'll just send you out, you know, for an audition and we'll see how you do. Sorry. And we'll sort of go from there. We'll just hear you and hear how you do. And the very first thing I auditioned for, I got. And so my agent went, I think you're going to work. And I was like, okay, I'll do anything, whatever. And, but almost right away, I also put parameters around myself. You know, I'm always so afraid of failure. That's the weird thing about being an actor is you're told no way more than you're told yes.
Right.
And I don't even know how I survived through all that, because it is really, really harsh. Usually you don't even hear anything, you know, you do something and then it's just like, if they don't want you, they don't tell you. Where was I going with that? Oh my God. So so I put up these parameters around myself. I'm sort of like, I'm more of a character type person. And I remember my agent saying, okay, I'm going to send you out for, you know, the announce role for this commercial or whatever. And I said, I don't really do announce. And she said, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And I went, okay. And I went out and I got that. And I was like, oh, I guess I do that too. So she didn't let me have anything around me. She didn't let me put up these blockades. And that was tremendous, because now I had my agent who believed in me. And I was just, once you have someone who believes in you and they're in your corner, you can do anything. For sure. And my older brother was also a really, really, really good at not letting me give up, because there's times when you just want to quit, when you just go, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know what's going on. And he was always there going, nope, this is what you do. Nope, you're good at it. So you just keep going. Suck it up, Sally. I was like, okay. He's in the film industry as well, my brother.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
not as an actor though. He does storyboards and conception art for films.
Yeah. So right at the beginning too, was there any aspiration for you to move to LA or New York, or were you content in staying there?
Never LA. LA didn't even cross my mind because when I was younger, like in my early 20s, I wanted to be on stage. I love being on stage. Love it, love it, love it. And I had it in my head that that's what I was going to do. That was where my path was going to take me. I was going to go to New York and I was going to be a big stage actor.
Mm.
And, that takes a lot of risk and it takes a lot of money because you've got to get a green card to be able to do it. And when you've got nothing on your resume and you've got to build up all that stuff, it's hard. So I never went to New York. I actually auditioned to go to, I can't remember what school. I think it was the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And I got into it, but then it was so insanely expensive that I went, nope, I can't do this. Nope. So yeah. So never did. Nope. Never went to the States and had a good career in Canada. I like it in Canada. I'm comfy here.
I'm not sure if it's accurate, but it says that before Sailor Moon that it said that you were in a kid's show called Animal Shelf.
Oh yeah. Actually, that was, I think, after Sailor Moon or during Sailor Moon, I think, because it was the same director or the same woman who was producing it. And actually the woman who voice directed it was Susan Roman, who was Sailor Jupiter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. She was great too. Really, really good director. She should have done a lot more directing.
Mm-hmm. And weren't you being taught by Roland Parliament too?
Mm-hmm. Yep, he was the one. He was my my prof at Ryerson.
Because I just talked to Rob Tinkler.
Oh yeah.
And I know that he was taught by him as well. So
yeah, Rob was one year I think behind me at Ryerson.
Mm-hmm. And I know that I've obviously read the story of how you got Sailor Moon, but I thought it was interesting that so it was completely based on you trying to emulate Terry for the audition.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be. Whether it worked out that way or not is another question. But at the time, I can tell you now, if you heard my audition, you wouldn't be able to tell us apart. Okay. But I had a really, really, really bad cold when I did it.
Yeah.
So my head was so full of of this cold, and I was losing my voice. It was all I could do to even sit up. Like I was really sick. And the longer I sat in that waiting room, the sicker I got. And I was just like, oh my God. But the thing that they did wrong, as far as I was concerned, when you're auditioning somebody and you want them to take over a different role, what they did was they played the original character, and then they gave me those exact same lines. Oh. So I'm hearing those lines, her doing it, and then they got me to do those exact same lines. So all I had to do was mimic her exactly. I could put in the same pauses, I could put in the same breaths, everything. But it's a whole other story when they say, okay, we want you to sound like her. Now say these words instead. And it's like, how would she say those words? Like, okay, now I got to put my head in that kind of frame. And the thing is, we didn't have the internet as it is today back then. Right. So I couldn't just go on YouTube and listen to all these different takes and go, okay, I've got the whole thing. I've got the cadence now. And that's nowadays, that's what you would do. You just listen to things over and over and over and just go, okay, now I've really got the feel of this. But at the time, all they did was play me that one take. And then I just did that one take, and it was easy. And if I screwed up the take, I could say, can you play it for me one more time so I can hear that? I go, okay. And then I would do it. Easy peasy. Not so easy once you get the part.
I'm not sure if this is true or not, but it says that you were, even before you got the role of Sailor Moon, that you were the Snow Queen in the second movie, like the main villain.
No, I don't know who that was. It's okay. A lot of people have said that, and I listened to it going, was I? Like maybe I was in something that I didn't even know, because often, you do a lot of parts that you forget that you've done, and I listened to it and I was like, that's not me. No, okay. No.
What about, it says too that you got to play some of the like random monsters.
No, they wouldn't even let me do that. And I begged. Oh, believe me, I begged, because there's nothing better than playing a villain in the entire world. I was like, please, I can do all these different things. Please, like, I'm not a one-note wonder here. And they're like, Linda, you've already got enough lines. Don't worry about it. Let somebody else do these parts. And I was like, okay. But I would have happily been a villain, I'll tell you that.
I had seen too that your favorite arc of the show was Sailor Uranus and Neptune.
I really I enjoyed doing that stuff for sure. And it was very confusing for me because, they just told us that they were cousins and it's like, cousins don't kiss like that. They don't look like that. My cousins don't look at me like that. Yeah, so that was always quite fun and funny when, we're going through all that. I was like, oh my God, really? This is ridiculous. Like, why can't they just be lesbians? Why? This is dumb. And they're like, cuz they're not ready for it. Children are not ready for this. I'm like, oh God, okay. Crazy. That's the one thing they got wrong, that's for sure. But, now they're getting it right, I guess.
I'm sure at this point, because I had to tell Susan about like the content of the final season, why it wasn't brought over. But have you been filled in by now? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know they would never be able to get around that if that was.
They wouldn't have known how to, right? They were just being like, what are we going to do? I mean, they literally cut out scenes if a kid didn't have a helmet on or any weapons. All that kind of stuff was cut out. So there was no way they were going to let that go by, I guess. I don't know. It's too bad, though. Would have been fun to do.
Mm-hmm. And you also did you also tell the producers and the team that because of how taxing it was for you to do Sailor Moon, that you would just have 2-hour sessions?
Oh, I think I did 4. I think my limit was 4, but everybody else had to do 8. Like, Katie would go in there, Katie and Susan and that, they would usually go in there for about 8 hours. And there was no way. I was constantly losing my voice because that's a high voice to do and you're doing a lot of screaming. So I would say to them, okay, that was actually one of the things that I kind of did right was I sort of reeled them in a little bit and said, this is the way it has to be done or I'm not going to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And I just said, all the screaming, all the fight scenes, all that stuff has got to be left till the end because I'm going to lose my voice for sure. And, by the end when you're like, doing all that, you got nothing left. Nothing. I remember so many times you're going, moon, cosmic power. And they're like, can you do it again? Yes, I'll try. I kept saying, why can't you just use the one from the last episode? I was able to do it then. Okay, I'll try again. We're paying you now, Linda. Okay. It was hard though.
Yeah. And what was your personal experience with because Katie and Susan were talking about how kind of crazy and high energy the producer was.
The funny thing about Nicole was she loved me. Anything I do, she loved. She just was always the sweetest thing in the world to me. But other people, if she was not happy with you, she'd let you know. And she could swear a blue streak, I'll tell you. And you'd just be going, oh my God, I can't believe she just said that. She would go crazy. And I was always so thankful that it wasn't me. One time I did a show and one of the directors was one of those kind of people that she would come in at each day, and if she was in a crappy mood, which she pretty much was every single day, she would just pick on someone. And you'd sit there going into each voice session going, oh, please don't let it be me. Please don't let it be me today. And if it was you, man, she made your life hell. And I mean, I watched her do this with kids as well as adults. And it was awful. Like, it was awful. You'd walk out of the session just shaking. One of the first sessions I did with her, I did the first line. It took me, I think it was something like 48 takes to do one line. Normally you do it twice. You do it once and then you do a second time for safety. And if they want you to change it up, it can take a few more takes, but it rarely takes, say, over 10 takes, but 48. And I was like, you're saying the same sentence 48 different times. How many different ways can you say this sentence? And I knew that right off the top, I had got the line right. And I was going, what is she? This is a power trip. She's doing this. And I didn't know at that point that she just picks on one person. And so I went into the bathroom and I just said, can I take a break for a few minutes? Because this was like over an hour of doing one line. And we had 6 episodes that we had to do, that I had a lot of lines. And it was like, oh my God. So I went into the bathroom and went, you got to go out there and you just got to, obviously you're not the right one for this. As tears are coming down, like, you're not the right one for this. They want somebody else. And I'm just going to go out there and say, obviously I'm not the right person for this role. So I'm going to leave it and, you know, like, just let somebody else do this. And I'm okay with that. Don't worry. And I started to walk out of the bathroom and I just sort of out of the corner of my eye caught my reflection. And I turned back around and looked at myself and I went, is that what you are? Are you a quitter? Are you gonna let them do this to you? And I went, no, you're not. If they want to fire you from this role, they can fire you. No, you're not doing that. You're not going to be the one to back down. So I went back in there and I just said, okay, this is what I think we should do. I think we should leave this first line and let's move on to the next line. Because obviously we've got some kind of hiccup going here. Let's just start the next line and let's go. I did the next 6 episodes, the full 6 episodes, probably in about, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. It took no time. It was just like, boom, 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 boom. She's like, you got it, you got it, you got it. And then I said, okay, let's go back to that first line now. Did it once. She goes, that's it. That's what I wanted. Okay. And I'm going, you're evil, man. And I swear to God, if you had listened back to all those takes, the first couple of takes I had done was the one that she would have used, but she was just crazy. But that's what you learn. It's part of the learning curve.
Did you personally know any of the voice actors on Sailor Moon that had passed away, like Susan Aceron or Kristen Bishop? Or
Kristen, yes. Susan, no. And Dennis. I knew Dennis.
Oh, yeah.
Dennis has passed away. He was great. Yeah. I didn't know them really, really well, though. They weren't people that I hung out with all the time, but I certainly knew them. You know, we worked together. So, you know, so sad. So sad.
And I know that, like, one of the main cast that has never been interviewed is Sarah Lafleur, who was Uranus.
Mm-hmm.
Did you really know her?
Well, I didn't really. Like, I mean, I'd see her going in there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd see her and Barbara going in. You'd be sort of ships that pass the night. You go, good luck. Oh, you're going to like this episode. Whoa, wait till you see what happens. Because we, of course, had no idea what was happening. We didn't get any scripts ahead of time. So we were just sort of going in there going, I wonder what will happen today. Okay, here we go. Right. So, yeah. Although it's funny, the second Sailor Venus.
Emily Claire Barlow.
No, not Emily Claire Barlow, not Venus then. It was Mercury. Who was the second Mercury?
Oh, Liza Balkan.
Yes. So Liza I'd see every now and then. And one time I was flying to like Barbados or something like this, and I get on the plane, and right across from me is Liza. I'm just like, I said, hey, how's it going? She's like, oh, hi. It was sort of weird because we were so out of context, right? It's sort of like, I know you. Hey, are you kidding? We're the Sailor Scouts, man. So the plane takes off. And as it's taking off, there's all kinds of sort of trembling and stuff like this. And, you know, they've got, you know, the wheels go under, but there was just some kind of trembling. And she was a very, very nervous flyer. Really, really nervous. I think there was something that had happened before too. Like there was some banging or something. And I remember her calling over the flight attendant and saying, there's some banging that's happening underneath my seat. And I'm really worried about this. And so when it was taking off and it was kind of all, and I could see her knuckles just go totally white. And I looked over at her and I put my hand over onto her hand and I said, it's okay. We're Sailor Scouts. We can save this plane. We're going to be just fine. And she looked at me like, you're crazy, lady. We didn't crash. We're fine. We were fine. We saved it.
That's pretty interesting because when I asked Susan and Katie about if they knew about Mercury being replaced, they didn't even have any idea.
It's because we didn't see people. Like it just depended on who you happened to have going in after you. And I got to see a lot more because I was in, you know, so many scenes and stuff. So I was always around, but yeah.
And I know, how long did it take you before, because I know that in the beginning that you were really emotional after every session because you didn't know how to make it your own.
Yeah. That was hard. That was really hard. It was frustrating because I just felt like all I was doing was screaming and I hated it so much. And I just didn't, you know, it's hard anyways when you're doing any kind of dubbing,
Yeah.
because the character's already established, and it's been established in another language, which makes it even more bizarre because, you know, their mouth is flapping so quickly, and you might be supposed to be saying 2 words, but the mouth keeps flapping. So you've got to, you know, figure out the words that go in there, and usually you have to figure them out. You have to say them really quickly. So you don't have any control that way. And so finding a character, but then on top of that, having somebody else already establish this character and going, okay, so I'm supposed to be doing it like that person there, and that person there is doing it like this person here, and I'm neither of those people, and I just want to make this something that I'm comfortable with.
Right.
But I didn't know how to say that to them, really, to say, no, I got to make this mine. I have to do this my way. And you know, it wasn't until I really sort of slid in there and really found my own strength as a human being, quite frankly, to just be able to say, no, this is the way I'm going to do it now. And I didn't even ask. I just did it. I just did it the way I thought it should. And from then on, it was so much better. It was so much easier. And I just felt so much more comfortable. And, you know, she came across as older, but she was older. So it's like, all right, well, you know, we're going to have to let her age a little bit. That's all there is to it. And she's going to be a lot more goofy because that's what I'm like. I'm goofy.
Yeah, my main hobby is actually collecting like animation cells and production art for anime.
Oh wow!
And I have 3 sketch sets of the girls. I have Jupiter.
Wow.
That's Ray, and then Mercury. They're all from the same scene, like the same episode.
Holy cow, that's great.
I was
going to say, we did a Comic-Con one time, and one of the guys who was one of the animators for Sailor Moon was there, and he drew a picture of Sailor Moon for me and you know, dedicated it to my family, and I was like, oh my God, that's
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was just about to ask, because I asked Katie and Susan as well, that they hadn't really ever been brought, you know, like original cells or anything from the show to autograph. Have you been?
Well, yeah, there's been like very few. There's been like, I don't know, they weren't necessarily original cells, though, I don't think.
Yeah,
that's a good question. Have I been, actually? I don't know if I have from that show.
Okay.
Because I have from other shows that I've done, but I can't really remember, to be honest with you. We've signed a lot of stuff over the years.
Right.
A lot of stuff. Although it is always really neat, the stuff that people bring to you, and you just go, where did you get that? That's so cool. You know, one of the hardest ones I ever had to sign was a man came in and he had this pair of running shoes, Sailor Moon running shoes, and they were really cool. And he said, I bought these for my wife. And I was like, oh my God, she is going to love these. These are so cool. And he said, yeah, she died 2 years ago. And, you know, she was a really huge Sailor Moon fan. I was like, oh my God. And he said, so I just wanted you to sign these. If you could sign something personal to her. And I was just like, oh my God. So I wrote on it, I can't even remember her name now, that's terrible. But I said, you are the moon, the stars, and the sun. You know, love Sailor Moon. And he later showed me that he had put that on her tombstone.
Oh wow.
Like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, it was just so touching and just, it was so beautiful. There's been a lot of stuff like that, you know, that you're just going, oh my, you don't even realize when you're signing something, and then, you know, they'll tell you some story behind it and you're like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Or actually, she hadn't died 2 years before. I think it was 2 months before. Like, it was really close anyways. It was very sad, but he was a very strong man, and, you know, and he obviously loved his wife a lot. Mm-hmm. So it was quite beautiful.
And is there like on the opposite side of that, is there like a single most uncomfortable fan experience you've had?
Yeah, there's been a lot. There's been a lot of uncomfortable. I mean, I remember one guy just kissing me on the lips. Oh. And you're like, oh, well, maybe we should get to know each other a little bit better. And he just like, and it was just so natural, and I was like, oh, Yeah, there's been a lot. There's been a lot. And it's also funny because sometimes when people get nervous, they come over and they'll be so nervous. I say, okay, come on, we'll get a picture together. And I put my arm around them and they might just pass a little bit of wind. And you're sitting there going, okay. And you're trying to ignore the fact that this has happened and that they know that it's happened. And you're just like, oh, one time it was my fault. So this guy had got in touch with me like a couple years before and said, I'm getting married. My wife is a huge Sailor Moon fan. Is there something that you could do to make our wedding a little bit more special? And I was like, oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure I can do something. So I got together some of the Sailor Scouts. I got Toby Proctor and Susan and Katie together, and I wrote a little script about this couple and how romantic it was, and I did all this stuff, and they played their parts. We did it in one take. It was amazing, and it sounded great. So I sent this off to this guy, and he was just thrilled by it, and and that was it. I know that he played it at the wedding, and everybody was just like, oh, this is so great. Well, a couple of years later, I'm at a Comic-Con and he comes over and says, I don't know if you remember me, but a few years ago you did this tape for me. And I was like, oh, I do remember. Yes, I remember. You guys are married. This is so great. This is your wife. Okay. So we talked for a little bit. I said, okay, well, we got to get a picture together. So I go to have this picture taken and I put my arms around him and he's, dressed up as something. I don't know what he was dressed up as, but he had a backpack on his back. And so when I went to put my arm around him, his backpack was huge. So I sort of had to move my arm down. I'm sort of moving my arm down and I've got my arm around her and I'm sort of, I'm rubbing her back sort of like this because she's like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And I'm doing sort of the same to him. And then I realize after the picture's taken that I'm not rubbing his back, I'm rubbing his butt. Yeah. I'm literally sitting there rubbing this guy's butt. And then I went, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was doing that. Like, I didn't know that was I'm so sorry. He goes, yeah, I was kind of wondering what you were doing. And I'm like, oh my God, he's probably sitting there going, yeah, Sailor Moon is the biggest creepazoid on the planet. There's my wife on one side. She's rubbing my butt. Oh my God, it was so awful. I felt so stupid. I was just like, I was so red. I was so embarrassed. And he just sort of walked away. And I would love, to this day, I would love to see the look on his face, because I'm just sitting there smiling as I'm rubbing his butt, and he's probably just going, what?
Yeah, that's great.
Oh my God, good times.
And was it at the same time as Sailor Moon that you got the role of Wasp?
Wasp was first. That was the first one that I ever did. That was the first animated one I ever did, and my husband was so excited that I got a part in an animated series that he ran out and got a license plate named after my character. And it said on it, one wasp, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, basically. And I was like, oh my God. And we had to go to a wedding in Detroit. And we're driving there and I'm like, I am not going to Detroit with the words one wasp on my license plate. No way, we are getting new license plates now. So we did. It was the sweetest thing, but it was like, you idiot. Oh my God. I love my husband.
And then you were obviously, I think it was the year after that, you were Percy in the Thomas the Railroad movie.
Yep. And that was it was a tiny little role, really, but it has the same kind of, almost the same kind of following as Sailor Moon, really.
Right.
Like the Thomas fans are unbelievable. They have got all kinds of things going on all the time. They're constantly writing and stuff, and it's quite amazing, actually. And that was a really neat one to work on as well, because I got to meet Britt Allcroft before I went in and recorded the thing. They called me up and said, Britt would like to meet you. And I was like, who's Britt? I didn't even know, like, I'm an idiot. So I just sort of went in there and like, hi, nice to meet you. And she's like, oh, nice to meet you. Yes, you're doing a wonderful job. And I said, is my accent okay? Because, are you sure? And she's like, oh, it's fine. That was it. But she was absolutely lovely. And now, if I had known how huge she is, I would have been like, oh God. Fangirling. And
the one other anime you were in, do you remember being an Airmaster?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't remember a lot of it actually, but I do remember, doing Airmaster. Yeah, I think I've done a few. I've done some more. Like I did Bay Wheels, but that's not really anime. I know I've done some other ones as well. Not that I can remember anything that I've done, but yep. Yep, that one I was a villain in, so that was fun.
You really remember like your approach to that being any difficult in Sailor Moon, or in terms of like dubbing or?
Well, it was very different because they had changed the whole technique, right? With Sailor Moon, they used the rhythmoband method.
Yeah.
And this one now they got more into, like all the words were green, and once the word turned yellow, then you said the word. So you're just following along like karaoke. So that was a lot easier. And if something didn't quite work out, they could just, digitally just go in there and just go, okay, does this work now? And then you'd say it and you go, yeah, that's a lot easier to say. Yeah, so that one was pretty easy. And we also got the scripts ahead of time, so we knew what was happening, which was kind of nice. Yeah, instead of just screaming into, like, honestly, with Sailor Moon, they would literally fast forward to your next bit that you're saying, and you wouldn't see who is talking to you, nothing. You just see your character maybe, and you didn't know if you were being hurt. You didn't know if you were in love. You didn't know any of that until the scene was over. And then you go, oh, now I know what's going on.
Right.
So a lot of times for Sailor Moon, I would say, can we watch this first? Just so can I see this scene first so I kind of know what's happening? And, we'd watch it in Japanese, and then you go, oh, okay, so what's happening here? Okay, let's try it. And yeah, it was very weird. And I hate reading out loud. I am the worst person doing a cold read on the planet. I am that person, that kid that was in school. I could not read out loud. My mouth and my brain just wouldn't work together. Yep. Probably there's some kind of dyslexia going on with me, but I've never been diagnosed with it. So I just go, whatever. But I would come home from school crying every day when we would have to read out loud, because I just felt like such a fool. So reading out loud to me, even to this day, makes me go, if I read it once, I'm fine. Doesn't matter. I'll be fine. But I have to see those words first of all and see what order they kind of go in. I go, okay, now I can say those words. But doing cold reads, and that's what Sailor Moon was. It was a cold read the entire time. But you have to act on top of that. And, you've got to put in all these emotions and put in a performance. And you're also going, how do I say these words? Oh, my God. And not to mention with the Rhythmoband, it was handwritten.
Yep.
Not the best handwriting either. So you're sitting there trying to read someone's sloppy handwriting going, and which line am I, what character am I? I'm that color there. Okay. Oh, it was hard. It was definitely a really hard skill.
And I was especially curious, kind of generally, whenever I talk to voice actresses that do boy voices, what was your process for the placement of getting into Champ Bear?
That one was interesting because when we did it, I had done some boy voices before, and certainly Susan Roman was a huge help. Yeah. She came in and talked to my class when I was in Ryerson. And I remember, saying, what's the difference between a girl voice and a boy voice? And she said, the only real difference between the two voices is the attitude. Boys don't care, and girls do. So a girl, the girl could say, I really like your dress. And a boy would go, I really like your dress. Like they just don't really care. I really like your dress. So I always had that in the back of my head, and that was fine. But when we did the Care Bears ones, we had at least six, possibly 8 Care Bears in one room doing an ensemble record, which is really fun. Whenever you're doing an ensemble, it's just the best because you get to hear everybody else and what they're doing, and you can play off them, and it's really fun. And most of the time, I would say, you're in a studio by yourself a lot of the time. But with that one, it was really, really hard because everybody had these little tiny voices. Everybody had these cute little bear voices, and they get in your head, and then your line is coming up and you're going, oh my, what does my character sound like? I don't even know. Like, what's going to come out of my mouth when I open my mouth? Am I going to sound like her across the, who just did a line and she's standing right across from me? And oh my God, it got so confusing. It's like when you have to do accents and somebody, maybe you're doing a Scottish accent and somebody else is doing an English accent and someone else is doing an Irish accent. And suddenly you're going, oh my God, they just all sort of meld together. And oh, it was really weird. Very, very weird. I think that's probably why my voice was a lot lower in that, because that was sort of my way inside my head of kind of going, I don't want to sound like Sleepy Bear or whatever, or Happy Bear. Okay, where am I going to go with this? And you're doing that, thinking on your toes. And a lot of time you just have to stop and say, wait, can I hear my voice reference again for my character? And then you hear it and you go, oh, that's right. Okay.
Was that easy for you to sustain doing Champ specifically, or no?
It really wasn't that bad. I didn't have that many lines really. Okay. So, it was not so bad. It was a pretty fun little role for sure.
And whenever you've been up against, for doing boy voices, whenever you've been up against actual child actors, is that more anxiety?
Who taught kids how to act? That's what I want to know. Who did that? Fools. You don't stand a chance against a kid because they've got those pure little perfect voices. Nowadays, they don't even bother audition. Rarely do they audition adults with kids because the kids are just so darn cute. Oh my God, their voices are so cute. But there's, sometimes they just go, no, we know that, you're not going to necessarily sound like a 6-year-old boy or whatever. But we do know that you're going to have more attitude or more of what we want for this character. So we do want adults to play these roles instead of kids. So that's when I go, yes.
I know that people there's still people like Julie Lemieux who are actively doing boys all the time.
Oh yeah. Julie's she's the goddess. She is it. She is the best. There's nobody better than Julie Lemieux, period. End of statement. Yep. She lives really close to me too. We go for walks every now and then.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, don't you live close to Susan and Katie too? Yeah,
I'm really close. Especially Susan. Susan's like a hop, skip, and a jump away from me.
Yeah,
I'll often walk by her house and go, "Hey, Jukes!" She's always outside in her garden. Always. Yeah. If you looked at her hands right now, her nails, I can guarantee if you called her right now and said, "Susan, put your nails up to the camera," they would be black just because she's constantly digging in the ground.
Oh, yeah.
She's a really, really good gardener. Amazing gardener.
And is it true that you got to be in Fairly Odd Parents?
No.
Oh, I wonder why that's not.
Not true. Falsehood.
Yeah, especially considering that's in Los Angeles. I don't know why that would be.
Well, sometimes, they voice patch you. Often they'll voice patch you down there, but no, not that one. I would love to do that one. Are you kidding me? That would be a fun one. My kids would worship me for that one. That was one of the ones they watched all the time.
Are you still doing Cyber Chase?
When they need me. I mean, they haven't needed me in the last little while, so I'm like, come on, man, let's get Wicked back in there. Wicked's the best character ever. Like, she's just so much fun. Yeah, I kind of miss her. I miss doing that. I want to get a hold of them and go, all right, guys, come on. Let's get this back going there. But of course I'd do it in a heartbeat. I've been doing, we got a new show that Katie and I are in called Go Dog Go. And it's on Netflix. It's great. It's really, really fun. It just came out this year. And it's based on the Eastman book. If you saw it, you go, oh, I know Go Dog Go. You just see this little guy riding you see the sideways view of him, and he's in a car. He's got little goggles on and stuff. If you saw it, and he's a little dog. It's all about dogs. It's very, very, very cute. Love it. Hoping that it just keeps going and going, because it's that kind of show that you just, every time I go in there, I just have fun. I'm like about 5 different characters in the show, and it's really good.
So that's still something that you get to do boy voices for?
Yeah. Yep. I've done one in that one, a little girl, but I'm in this one, I'm this one Lady Lydia, who every episode pretty much says, "Do you like my hat?" And someone else goes, "No, I do not." And I go, "Thank you, goodbye." Every episode. So that's always fun when you get to repeat the same thing. And I have so many people now writing to me, "I like your hat. Oh, I do so like your hat." But I'm also the mayor in it, and I'm like the main character's mom in it. So I'm lots of different characters in it. Yeah.
And there was something that was like several years ago that looks like it's a mix of live action and animation called Mia and Me. You were a main role on.
I loved that show, and they stupidly went non-union with it.
Oh,
so we did the first season or two, can't even remember, I think one, and it was so good, won all kinds of awards, and it was so beautiful, and it's such a joy to do. And then they went, "We're going to go non-union now," and so they just found someone that matched my voice and used non-union actors. That's all I can say about that, because it was a great show. Really good. Beautiful.
And I know that you were main characters on George of the Jungle too.
Mm-hmm. That was a really fun one, because that one I could really go nuts on, and they let me go nuts. That one, and Yin Yang Yo was another one that they would really give me kind of carte blanche to go, "Can I change this line? Is it okay if I?" And they just go, "Yes, go ahead, do it." Mm-hmm. And the more ad-libbing you did, the more they loved it. And I just had, oh my God, I loved it. Fun.
I did see something on a panel where somebody that worked on Yin Yang Yo with you was like a fan of Sailor Moon and didn't know that you were Sailor Moon or something like that.
That happens a lot. It's happening a lot now whenever I go into a studio, and it'll be the people behind the glass that are, on the production side. And someone will say, "Linda was in Sailor Moon," and they'll be like, and you can see them, like, I can't even hear what they're saying because it's behind glass, but you see the face going.
Yeah.
And then when I go in, they're like, "Okay, so Marcia here is a huge Sailor Moon fan." I'm like, yes. Oh, baby. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Because you guys have been on panels with several members of the new dub. Have you met all of them or most of them? Or
I think well, we certainly met all of them when they were announced.
Yeah.
In LA, because we were all together at that. But yeah, I've been on lots of different panels with them, especially, who is it? Amanda
Miller. Yeah.
Miller. Yeah. Yeah. We've done a lot with her, and Stephanie Shea as well. Done quite a few with her. Yeah. They're lovely. They're nice. They're young. The funny thing about them is, a lot of them were Sailor Moon fans, right? They watched it growing up. So it's like, wow, holy cow. And then I go, "Oh God, how young are you, you little..."
I thought it was especially cool that the creator of Sailor Moon, Naoko, like, she got to pick who the new dub members were for the main cast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. That's very cool.
And did you actually know Terry when you got the role, or no?
Yeah, well, I'd met her. I'd seen her at auditions before, so I certainly knew who she was. And then, yeah, we didn't. I mean, once she had her kids, she kind of left the whole voice scene. So I never really got to know her well by any stretch of the imagination. And I think she might have moved out west.
Oh, okay.
I think. I could be wrong, but she's lovely though. She's really, really nice person. And same with Tracy. I've met Tracy. Tracy's a little bit crazy. She's a little bit crazy, but she's nice. She's very nice. And she knows her stuff, man. Man, she knew all the, I mean, she directed some of the Sailor Moon stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was very much on top of all that.
Did you get to, because I know in the 4th season, it was cool to have Lisa Del Bello as one of the villains, and she's a really good singer.
But again, I really didn't, get to see her or anything like that. And I don't even think I really realized who exactly she was. It's sort of like, oh, okay, whatever, let's just do it. Gonna go scream my guts out again.
Mm-hmm. And did you not really start watching the series to know what's going on until much later?
Even To be honest with you, even still, there's a lot of times we're just like, I don't even know. I know one day I'm going to sit down and watch it from start to finish, and then I'm going to go, oh, I mean, I always find it hard watching things that I've done anyways, because I'm just so critical of myself. So I'm like,
I would think that, you know, the really emotional scenes would stand up more like in the finale of the 4th season when both her and Minnie Moon are like falling endlessly to the earth.
Yeah. That was great. That was really, I loved that actually. That's like one of my favorite scenes. And also when she's dying, when all of the scouts are dying around her. And yeah, I loved doing all that stuff. But you know, you get lost in it because you're watching it for the first time. You're like, no. And then you're just watching as it happens before you, and they're like, Linda, you've got lines. You should have been doing your lines. I'm like, just let me watch this first of all. Oh my God. It was good though. It was lovely.
And do you have a particular process for when you get yourself into a really emotional space like that? Is there a particular process that you have that to get yourself out of it?
Oh, to get myself out of it?
Yeah.
To get myself out of it, it's like, once it's done for me, really. You know, like once I'm finished, I'm like, okay, moving on now. Woo, that was a lot. It's more, you know, how do you get yourself into it? How do you ramp yourself up and make sure that you've got that emotion? Because, you know, again, with like Sailor Moon, you could be doing, you know, a scene where you're talking to Darian and, you know, flirting with him. And then the next one that they're recording is suddenly somebody's dying and you don't want them to die. So you've got to go from being like, oh, to being like, huh. So that really takes, you know, a lot more breathing and stuff like that. But you just sort of dive in and you go for it. And, you know, again, with Sailor Moon, you could watch it happening. So you could see where she was going with it and be like, oh, this is so sad. Okay. I know where we want to go. I do love doing emotional stuff though, because you don't get to do that very often.
Right. Yeah, I know that you get to, it seems like an animator's way more chance to emote more so than original animation.
Mm-hmm. But in animation, just there isn't usually a lot of, you know, sad scenes, at least in stuff I do. It's usually, you know, pretty funny stuff. So it is really fun when you do get to do the emotional stuff, that's for sure.
This might be obvious, but once you were really established in voiceover, was there no aspiration to go back to on-camera stuff at all?
I hate on camera. On camera hates me and I hate it. I am like the most unphotogenic person on the planet, I think. Every time I see myself, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Oh my God, no. And now, of course, because it's been so long, trying to memorize lines.
Oh, yeah.
I am useless at it. Katie Griffin, I will help her often with her on-camera auditions. And she's great. She can memorize lines like that. And I'll go in there and I'll just be reading the other lines and recording her for these auditions. And I'm constantly amazed at how good she is. Like I just sit there going, wow, it's all I can do to try and memorize a line. And I'm talking like, if I was doing a commercial with, you know, like 3 lines, I'd be like, oh my God. Okay, what's my line? Oh, it's all in my head. It's all in my head. I let everything go into my head. So I just don't like it. What I would, every now and then I sort of think to myself, I would love to get back on stage again because I do love doing it. And, you know, the closest that I get to that is I'll do auctions and stuff like that. I'll be like a host at some event that's trying to, you know, do a fundraiser. And I love doing that kind of stuff. Just love it. Love getting up in front of an audience and just doing it and just doing stuff off the top of my head. That's where I really find a lot of comfort and stuff and joy. So sort of trying to figure out, do I want to do that? Because, you know, theater also takes a lot out of you. It's very exhausting. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm probably past that now, that time in my life now, but it is what it is.
Have you ever gotten the opportunity to do any ADR or looping for on-camera things too?
Oh, as a matter of fact, I'm doing looping Oh, I think it's on Monday. I'm doing a looping
Oh,
thing for some film. I love doing looping. We got this little loop group that we have that we go in together, and we have way too much fun, and we always laugh afterwards. And then they go, "You guys are really good at this," and it's like, all we're doing is talking. And
yeah.
so for people out there who are watching this that don't know what looping is when a film has been done and you've got all these background people, people in the background. So the main two characters are maybe talking, say in a hospital, but there's other people, or say in a cafe. They're talking in a cafe, and then there's maybe some tables behind them with a couple people in it. And those people are just talking, and they have to have that sound in the background. So you don't even have to necessarily say anything. Like, we just sit there and talk about what we've done during the day. And oh my God, my husband drove me crazy last night. He was blah, 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 That's the kind of thing we're doing, and we have so much fun. So I'm very much, I literally just heard that I was doing one about an hour ago. So there you go.
I didn't even think that it was because a lot of the voice actors I talked to are in Los Angeles, so I didn't even really think that they did ADR stuff in Canada. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, well they do a lot of filming here, especially in Toronto. Toronto's now become this huge hub of filming. I think especially because of COVID, so much stuff got shut down in California that they brought it all up into Canada, into Toronto. And I'll tell you, if you're in the film industry right now, you are working up here. That's for sure.
Yep.
Not so much. The voice is dead right now. It has not been busy the last month or so. Like this year, I'm kind of like, last year I had a great year, which was amazing. So as soon as COVID happened, I said to my husband, you got to build me a studio. You got go down to the basement and build me a studio. So he was just like, okay. And he just put together a fantastic studio. It sounds really good. And so I've been able to record animation and commercials right from there. And we do it through Source Connect. So we can, we patch it through to the studio.
Yep.
And I don't even need to go in. I can just do it all from here. So it's fantastic. Love it. Love my studio. Love my husband for building it.
And with other voice actors I've talked to, I've heard, I guess it's probably different with some people, but I've heard that when some of them are auditioning for a character, that if they don't feel it within their whole body, like down to their toes, and then they usually don't get the audition. Do you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and not only that, you have to use your whole body.
Right.
Like, you literally, I used to say if somebody cut off my arms, I couldn't voice act because, I'm this, like when you're angry, you're not like, oh, I'm so angry. You're like, I'm so angry. And you can hear the difference. And people that are just starting out, one of the things that they always say to you is, can you put a bit more smile into that?
Yeah.
And when they say that, they literally mean smile, like smile, because you're going to sound a lot brighter when you talk, when you're smiling. And younger actors, people that are just starting out, just don't understand that. And I've directed casting sessions for commercials.
Okay.
And I've, said it so many times to people, like, no, I literally want you to smile. And they start again. They're like, today on blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, I'm going to stop you again. I really need you to put the biggest shit-eating grin you can put on your face. Smile as big as you can. As soon as they do that, you go, there you go. Now we're getting somewhere, kiddo.
And do you also agree that in terms of developing a character, that there's not really much difference when it comes, like in comparison to voiceover or stage acting or anything?
Yeah. I mean, obviously one of the big differences is you don't care what you look like.
Yeah.
And you do care when you're doing on camera. You have to have a look about you. That's one of the reasons why I also hate doing on camera, is because I always look like I'm going to murder someone. I can be like, I can say, I love you. And it's like, I love you. I'm going to murder you. Yeah. I am going to kill. And that's what, so often that was always my feedback was, you look really angry, Linda. It's like, I know, it's my face. I just always look angry. But yeah, a lot of it is the same though. You've got to find what your character's motivations are. You know, you've got to dig deep and find what's going to make this character different. And I think that that's also a problem that a lot of actors get into. They start getting lazy, and they start, oh, this is what my little boy voice sounds like. This is what my mom voice sounds like. It's like, no, you got to make it different every time. You got to figure out why. You know, it might end up sounding the same, like it might be the same sound, but it's a whole different attitude, and you've got to find that, and you got to make sure that you know what it is, or you're not going to get the parts. That's all there is to it.
And this might also be obvious too, but I guess is the most emotional headspace you've had to get yourself into for a voice role. Would it be Sailor Moon, or was there something else that came close?
Oh, that's a good question. For emotional.
Or yeah, like dark or anything like that.
Yeah, I definitely Sailor Moon would be up there for sure. Would definitely be. Yeah, I would think Sailor Moon is probably number one. I can't think right now. I'd have to give that some really good thought, because right now nothing's coming to mind that is that emotional for sure. You just those kind of parts don't come along that often, you know. They're usually just funny parts.
Well, I would have guessed maybe that there would have been some things in the Avengers too.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. That's what I was thinking too. And you know, it's funny. The Avengers is now on Disney Plus.
Yep.
And I went on there. I was like, oh my God, this is the first thing I ever did here. I've got to watch it. I've got to watch it. And you know, I watched and I went, hey, I did a pretty good job, considering that was my very first thing I'd ever done. And I remember, like, you know, going in, well, it wasn't even for the Avengers necessarily. Like when I booked my first sort of quirky, weird role, you know, where, you know, you're putting on a voice, because the Avengers was, you know, Wasp was basically my voice, you know, more serious version, but it sounded a lot like me. But I remember when I went in to do like one of my first ones, you know, like a Care Bear type of voice, and like auditioning for it, and then going in to do it and going, okay, so how do we go about doing this? And they're sort of like, and they sort of looked at me, you know, kind of like, what are you talking about? And then they all start, you know, doing their little voices, and they've all, and you're like, oh, okay. We just go for it. We just jump in with both feet and we don't care. Okay, let's do it. Ooh. But, you know, like you said about, you know, putting your whole body into it. I had to do a whale a few months ago. And for some cartoon, I can't even think of which one it was right now.
Like it was just sounds, or you actually had to like come up with the voice?
No, I had to sort of talk. I had to be this, you know, lovely whale that's having fun and asking questions, but you can't really use words, but you kind of got to get across. And, you know, you know, I'm doing stuff like that, but to do that, I was really going, oh my God. They were laughing so hard at everything I was doing. And I thought, oh, it's just because I'm doing a really good job. And then later on I went, oh my God, it's because I look like such an idiot doing this. But I didn't care. I got the performance out that they wanted. So that's all that mattered.
It's actually something I haven't thought to ask. In general, are you good at doing animal noises?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, definitely. I did one, what was it called? Wandering Wenda or something. I think it's Wandering Wendy. I can't remember. Anyways, and I had to be a pig in it. Okay. I had to be a pig who only grunted, and every now and then sort of got a little bit of a word out. So I'm doing a lot of and I did that for about an hour, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. You have no idea how hard that is on your soft palate, making that noise for that long. And by the end, I was literally spitting blood. Like, wow. Literally, my soft palate started to bleed because I was doing so much. It was, those are the type of voices you don't want to do. It's just like, I can do that once, you're not getting it ever again. No, sir, no. But another time I did a McDonald's commercial where I had to be a chicken. And I was basically talking to the farmer. No, I was a cow who clucked like a chicken. So I was, you know, but I was supposed to be talking to the farmer and asking him questions and maybe telling him a joke or something like this, but just clucking. I tell you, it really messes with your mind when you start doing that kind of stuff, because you really get into it and you just get this whole conversation going, but you're clucking. I love it.
So outside
Best
of
job.
yeah, so outside of Go Dog Go, it says that there's something called Book Hungry Bears that you're doing too.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful one. Those are little bears. They're little tiny bears, and I'm the narrator of the book, and I read each book, and I
Okay.
do all the characters in the book and stuff like that. I love it. It's beautiful.
Is there any other animation that you're working on or that you can't?
Well, I was doing a lot of things have sort of slowed down right now. It's very, very disheartening, but it'll pick up again. It'll pick up again. It's just stupid COVID. But I was doing one called Dog and Pony, where I am what is my name in the character? God, I can't even think of what my character's name is right now. Oh, this is terrible. But I'm a crazy little old woman. And I love her. And she started out as a clown, and now she's sort of turned into this older woman. So the very first episode I was in, they just cast me to do this quick little one-off clown thing, and I did it. And then they decided to bring that character back, only now she doesn't have the clown stuff on, and it turns out she's a little old lady. And they just kept putting me in more and more episodes. It was bizarro. Oh God, there's been a few. There was a few that I did last year as well. I'm blank. Why don't I write these things down is my question. I don't know. I did stuff. I got my tax return over here. I should just go through my T4s and see. Oh yeah, I forgot about that character. Yeah.
So I like to end every interview I do with asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, wow. That's hard. Do you ever get to pick your legacy, do you think? I don't know. I think it just sort of happens, doesn't it? Like you end up dying and they say, wow, she was really good at. Well, I certainly love to bring humor into things. There's not a question about that. So, I mean, maybe that's what this is a hard one. Chris, why do you do this to me? That's hard. What do I want? What do I want my legacy to be? What do I want it to be? Somebody who never gave up, who kept trying, and just didn't take no for an answer. How about that? Does that count? I don't know. Is that cheesy? Cheap? Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess in terms of like all the voice roles you've had too, if there's something that you want someone to feel when they discover you in something.
This is hard. Could have given me this one up. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Well, I guess we're going to find out when I'm gone. And then you're going to go, there's what it is, Linda. That's what you should have said. And I'm going to go, oh, yeah.
Is it maybe easier to ask that question in regards to, people that are discovering the older Sailor Moon dub for the first time and hear you, or?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah. I certainly made it my own. There's not a question about that. I don't know.
Well, because I know
I'm giving you a crappy ending to your.
Oh no, it's okay. Well, I just know that with Sailor Moon too, that I know I'm sure there's been so many times where you've been approached and everybody else has been approached that was in it, where people talk about how it saved them from suicide or like domestic abuse or things like that.
Yeah, that will never cease to amaze me. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize when you're in a booth doing a voiceover how much it's going to affect someone, how it's going to affect someone. You're just in there doing your thing, doing what you love doing. And when it does touch someone's heartstrings like that, and then you get to hear those stories afterwards, it's unbelievable. And I'll tell my family about stuff like this, like when I go to Comic-Cons and I get to meet people that have had these heart-wrenching stories, really hard stories, and telling them this show did something. It made a difference. Somehow it made a difference to them. And I was part of it. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so incredibly proud to be part of that. I feel so blessed to be proud of it. You know, my family's very sarcastic and they'll sort of go, oh yeah. But it is something that I will carry around with me forever. Maybe that'll be my legacy. I don't know. But yeah, it is huge. In fact, somebody, I think it was Susan Roman was talking to a woman one time, and this woman, she had tried to commit suicide, and they put her into some kind of an institution to help her. And while she was there, they played Sailor Moon for her. And that was the first time she had ever seen it. And that's what brought her out of it. And there she was in a hospital, and they knew then, they were just like, see if you can find something in that. And my hat is off to that hospital. I just go, well done. You picked the right show, because that person is still with us, which is beautiful. Oh my God, you're making me cry.
Well, I think it's with Sailor Moon too. It's, you know, it's more easy to relate because considering all of the girls have flaws, they're not just like perfect, you know, fictional characters.
Yeah, and there was something that people could relate to. I mean, the flaws alone, you go, yeah, but they also just had their own personalities, their own uniqueness. And, you know, maybe one was sporty, maybe one was more girly, maybe one was more this. And it's what people needed. And then what other people, you know, they'd come to us saying, you know, this is what I was looking for in a best friend. And I didn't have any friends. I had no friends growing up. I lived in this tiny little town and nobody accepted me, and I just didn't have any friends, but they were what I always wanted as a friend. And so that's what I held on to. Those were my friends. And then later on, as I grew up, I was always looking for, who is my Mercury? Who is my Jupiter? And then, you know, they'd be there like, this is my Mercury. I found her. We're best friends. And oh my God, it turns out she was a Sailor Moon fan. You're like, oh, that's the best. Those are the best stories. The best.
Well, thanks. This was fun to talk to you about stuff that people don't really ask you. So.
Yeah, thank you. You were great at this. You know your stuff. There's not a question about that.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been doing this for a year, and almost a year. And I just talked to Rosanna Arquette a couple days ago. So.
Wow. Did you mention my name? Did you say, hey, I'm going to be talking to Linda Ballantyne?
So I'm kind of moving.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. Where do you live?
I'm in Minneapolis.
Oh, Minneapolis. Oh, wow. Okay, well, this was great. I'm so glad you had me on. I'm so glad we could make this work.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else in the sailor world that you need? You should be talking to Barbara Radecki.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll be sure to reach out to her, because I know that people. I saw that she's starting to do interviews, but just for the first time, and she seems like she's really open to it. So.
She's really, really intelligent. She puts so much thought. Oh my God, she's really cool, and she writes books too.
Yeah. I know. Do you know whatever happened to Liza?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Every now and then I'll see. This is where my brain is going crazy right now. The first Mercury.
Oh, Karen.
Yes, I'll see her every now and then, because she lives in Toronto. And I mean, one day I was riding along. I was in my car, and she's riding along on her little bike, and I blasted the horn. And she's like, oh, and she's, oh, and I'm like, hi. She's like, oh, Linda. Oh, hi, Linda. You scared me. Hi, Linda. She's so lovely.
Well, thanks. I can send a link to you once I have it uploaded if you want to see it.
Great. Sure. Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Yeah.